Good morning and welcome to another update of the top altcoin playbook. I hope everyone is doing fine. Here in Belgium, it's around 35 degrees, so really hot. Already sweating a lot for only being almost 9 a.m. So really hot. So I'm gonna try to focus as hard as I can during this hot weather. So we're looking here at Bitcoin, of course, the Bitcoin market compass, and you can see that it's now even trading below the green 200 weekly moving average. I mentioned this before. In the past, we also traded below the 200 moving average for a prolonged time. It's not unusual. It's something we already said it can happen, and now we're here. So the background is still red. It means trading altcoins is gonna be difficult. You will have some pumps, of course, in selected altcoins, but overall the market will trend down. So you either take short-term trades with a tight stop loss and take profit, or you wait just like me, avoiding to get chopped into pieces and preserve some capital to make sure that you have cash whenever we reach the time frame where it's expected for Bitcoin to bottom. And I've mentioned this many times before, the expected bottom, if we look at the last cycles, is around that October 2026 time frames, so 1 year after the top usually. So that's where you want to have at least 15% cash in your portfolio to buy either Bitcoin, altcoins that you are fundamentally convicted in. Altcoins, I would stick to like the major ones: Ethereum, Solana, XRP. Those are the ones that have proven to make new all-time highs. Hype is another one that is very strong. I'm using it myself, so it's something I would invest in, but still like 1% of my portfolio maximum. So what I'm doing is trying to avoid in buying too much dips unless it really reaches my level. And in the past few weeks, it did that. So Bitcoin sliced through a lot of support levels. Yesterday, it briefly went below the 60K level. Bounced from it, but it's not looking too good. Like we know there's still some months left before we reach that bottom. So we might make like a lower high here again, testing around $76,000, and then a move lower into the 55,000 area. I also now added the 45,000 level just because if we slice through it within weeks, then we also still have a few months left before reaching the bottom. So it's very possible, if it happens fast, that we can reach that $45,000 level as well. Maybe a little bit higher, 48 maybe, but you gotta be mentally prepared for such a correction or bear market. Previous bear markets had around 80 to 84% drawdowns. Today, Bitcoin is only down 55%. So there's still some room if we compare with other cycles, even if we calculate diminishing drawdowns. So yeah, be ready. And yeah, I got a question about why am I adding every time it's dropping, even though I know or I'm convicted that the October timeframe is gonna form the bottom. Well, first of all, we never know for sure, so I prefer to always be allocated into Bitcoin, and I said it from the start, I'm ready to be on the water for a couple more months. For me, buying here at 70K or at 60K is not a big difference. So going from all the top to 70K was already a 40% drawdown, which is still a good level to be buying. And now I simply buy more because I usually have around 15 to 20% crypto allocation at the start of a bull market. So now I will be buying more if we drop lower. And I actually want it to drop lower, so I'm happy to buy just because I am very convicted that we will reach new all-time highs. it's a trend that we see in the cycles. So every time there is a bull market, Bitcoin at least makes a new all-time high. It might not be what people say on social media, $500,000 or even $300,000. But even if you buy at this level here, going all the way to the all-time highs, that's a double in price. So where do you get such a great return in such a short time frame in crypto? And that's the reason why I slowly accumulate Bitcoin as we are dropping down. The worst thing you can do is you buy at the tops and then you forget about it, and then you never buy when it's at the bear market and then makes new all-time high, and you buy again and maybe you make a little bit of profit, but you usually buy at the top of a cycle, so that's when it starts crashing again. And that's what most people do. So the mindset is to buy when we see lower prices. So every support I have here, I will place orders to basically buy a little bit more allocation into Bitcoin. And for now, I have around 10% allocation. So let's say we drop another layer lower, that's 2% I can add to my crypto allocation again here. If it drops even lower, then I would be around 14% allocated into crypto. And then I still have like 6% to buy altcoins like Hype, Ethereum, or whatever I want. So yeah, this is how my plan looks like. But the price in the short term doesn't really affect me much. I am prepared for it to see dropping. And you have to question yourself, are you someone who looks at this chart and is fearful, or do you see opportunity? Because the real investors, the real traders in the space, they buy on dips. They buy and follow their plan when the market crashes, and they're not going to look at the news, what's happening, to change their investing strategy. No, they know what they want and they do it whenever the price reaches that target. So that's exactly what I'm doing and what I will continue to do going forward. If we look at Bitcoin's dominance, so it had a little pullback, but still holding around that 58% level. So not breaking down. We'll see how it goes. If it's breaking down, it's probably because Bitcoin in price is going down and people are moving their Bitcoin into stable coins, because this is including stable coins, this chart. For Ethereum, it's a higher low still. And for Bitcoin, it's a lower low. So this one took out this low. So usually I put more weight into what Bitcoin is doing. So Ethereum is still a weak chart, and I think if it's not going to bounce hard, it's probably going to get dragged with Bitcoin if it drops to a lower level. But this is what you see on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart. So holding up, you can see it's holding up. So that's what we saw in the chart, a higher low here, and you can see it on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart. But as I said, nothing to do here unless we really see a break of this trend line maybe. So that's what we are paying attention for. Looking at Hype, so Hype impressively made new all-time highs when Bitcoin was going down. It's now sitting at that $64 support, so went all the way down. So if you entered on the first attempt, then you would be already out because it would hit your stop loss. Now it's back above it, so you could say I am taking a breakout trade again. That would be a second attempt. But if this one fails, my opinion, we're going to see $54 getting tagged. Tron, not much going on here. It had a nice bounce of support, and let's see if it can slowly grind higher again. Near had a big correction after this big pump, so the support I am watching is around $1.80, so almost, yeah, tagging there. Yeah, just a few cents away from it, so maybe one last leg down before we tag that $1 $1.80. Zcash, so big move, big correction, and now it's back at that support level, so almost back at $365. That's where I have my support level. Venice token made a lower low, but still holding the $13 level, so needs to hold this level to stay bullish in my opinion. Otherwise, it's gonna head back to $10. Dexy. So we dropped this last time. It was following this trend. Came for a test here at $14 and big pump higher, even made a new higher high. So strong move by Dexy. This trend is holding. GST testing support first and small bounce, making a higher high here. So it's a little bit more bullish than bearish in my opinion. So hopefully 7 cents holds. Epic, I moved down the support level, wasn't holding here really, so the next level for a test would be around 35 cents. Wild, yeah, it's a nice breakout move, but before I would enter, I look for a retest of this 37 cents level. That's where there is a lot of support here. And then Tau, you know, I was buying Tau, so I added a little bit more Tau to my portfolio. It's more like a fundamental play, decentralized AI, after the news that Anthropic had to cancel the Fable model. So this is more like a narrative I'm following. But we also have a bullish setup on the monthly. This candle was a big sweep of these swing lows, took them all out, okay? And as long as we stay above the 140 level, this bullish setup stands. So yeah, I'm still holding my Tau position. Rollbit, not much going on here. Same, it was a sweep of this low around 4 cents, had a bullish candle, and as long as we stay above 3 cents, the chart remains in a bullish setup. So many months already that we're staying above. Then let's look at some of the bigger altcoins that I'm not really following because they are strong charts, but just because a lot of people are invested in Solana. And I do think maybe the next cycle it will do well, but right now not much is happening. So we'll have to look for, signs of a change in a trend. Right now it's testing the 58 level as we were following for a long time. It had a nice bounce, but didn't even reach that $81 level. So really weak. Probably is going to test that 58 level again. XRP even breaking below, making lower lows here. So trading at around $1.08. Not looking good for XRP. So like I said, way back when we were trading at $2, I think 90 cents is a level we will eventually tag. Same for Binance coins, making lower lows here. So not looking good for Binance. They also had bad news on the fact that a lot of brokers need to regulate their platform in Europe, and the problem is most of them are doing it really well. Coinbase, Bybit, but Binance didn't get allowed to proceed, so maybe that's the reason why the price is going down so much. So not good news for Binance, because these platforms, they earn money if they have a lot of users, and if Europe is going to be excluded, that's a lot of users they miss out on. Circle, this was a bullish setup after sweeping the IPO low here, still holding above it, but price action wise not doing very good. And then PL is a similar setup, taking out this low here, and so stop loss should be around 6 cents. Anything is fine above 6 cents. And the stock market actually corrected a bit this week, so let's check really quick here. So right now it's about 3 0.5% down for the since the all-time high, and the Nasdaq around 5%. So 5% correction, not bad. I do think like this is still a buy the dip opportunity. I am buying the Nasdaq. I am buying the stocks that I like the most. You know, the stock vault stocks. Recently bought Amazon. I also bought a little bit of Microsoft and Meta, I believe, Mastercard in the past. So when it was trading lower here, I also think Nvidia is a strong buy here, now almost hitting the second buy level. Palo Alto a little bit overstretched, so wouldn't touch it here. Wait for a deeper correction. Apple is a strong stock that's usually always overvalued, so maybe my calculation is a little bit too conservative because it's really always trending higher, but I prefer to buy Apple when the sentiment is way more bearish. And then Palantir, I recently added, so added at around 120. Next target would be around 105. So that's a stock that I really want to have around 5% allocation in. Right now it's around 2.5. So still a lot of room to add in Palantir. Let's say the levels are 0.5% of my portfolio here, and I still have 1.5% left or 1% left to buy at even lower prices if it goes to $45. So these are stocks that are undervalued and still making a lot of money. So eventually the stock price will follow the fundamentals of the company. So of course, in the short term, it doesn't feel great when things are going down, especially my portfolio. I'm focused on crypto, which is not doing good this year, software, which is not doing good this year. But the earnings are showing me there's nothing to worry about. I am buying and I will continue to buy. Trying to catch up with those semiconductors seems like a bad decision just because it is so overstretched right now that we could have a similar crash like we had in gold and silver or like we had in crypto in the past. It's just, if you're trading this, you have to stick to the trend momentum. Let's say you're tracking the 50 daily moving average, then yeah, wait for or you get out when it's falling below this moving average, for example. I'm just watching closely if there's any other moving average it's tracking more closely in this uptrend. So one bounce here. Let's see the exponential one weekly. So on the weekly, it is tracking following the 8 exponential moving average a little bit. So when you see dropping below the exponential moving average here around 586 for the semiconductor ETF, we will see a bigger pullback. So I would only hold this ETF or the smaller semiconductors if I am playing buy high but sell even higher. It's not really a long-term play at these levels. You either buy during deep oversold corrections for long-term plays, or you trade it when things are really bullish. And things are really bullish right now, so this could continue for a long time. It's just you gotta, pay attention, stay focused, and don't just hold for forever hoping it will make new all-time highs, especially these smaller semiconductors. You could argue that the semiconductor ETF itself is a strong long-term buy because it's always trending higher, but yeah, not when things are overstretched like this. So it could make another 30% higher, but then also make a 70% drop, and it might take some time before the sector or the ETF recovers again. All right, so guys, this is it for this week. If you have questions, do let me know, and I'll see you next time. I will be on holiday, so we will be doing a video outside of the desk. So if it's a little bit later, apologies already, but I will try to make a video on every Thursday, of course. So thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.